Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Uncanny Treks. We are covering the finale of X-Men 97 Season 2, Survival of the Fittest. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Doing great, Bob. Only 9 episodes this season. It's ridiculous. Come on, give us more. Give us more X-Men.
On the one hand, I'm never going to say no to more X-Men. On the other hand, I'm always saying live-action TV needs shorter seasons, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and complain too much when X-Men 97 drops an episode.
I want double digits, Bob.
You want 10 episodes for your seasons. Yeah, you got needs, Matt. You got needs.
Yeah.
I am going to open this episode with a complaint, Matt. I don't know if you noticed this, but the recap for this, man, it was bad. It went on forever, and it was recapping in excruciating detail everything from episode 8, Dead Man's Hand, and I didn't feel like you needed as much recap as they get. It could have been much more efficient, much more to the point. The editor dropped the ball on the episode.
Some people on Reddit were saying the writers are trying to piece together how they can get the season finale to work out with that recap.
In a sense, I agree with them in that, but in a sense, I don't, right? Like, there's a clear enough through line for the season that you don't.
Question though, Bob, is there a clear through line because you are an avid X-Men fan and have been a fan for years and years and grew up with the show and we've read a ridiculous number of X-Men comic books?
I don't think it's a knowledge issue. I don't think my extensive knowledge of X-Men, such as it is, makes me more likely, more able to appreciate or understand the show. But I do think my extensive familiarity and love for the X-Men makes me more likely to enjoy the show. I could see showing somebody who wasn't that in to X-Men or didn't know much about X-Men. I could see showing them some of season 1 of the original show or some of the Dark Phoenix saga of the original show or season 1 of this restart. But if you were a new X-Men fan or you wanted to be an X-Men fan but had no context, I would not say start with this season. I don't think this season would give you that much that would really hook. Does that make sense?
Well, that makes sense. It helps with your enjoyment of the show having all the knowledge. And but see, that in and of itself is because you have all the knowledge, it's easier for you to access stuff that others probably wouldn't pick up on. But I feel like this is geared toward people who have been in X-Men for the long run, and it's hard to follow without a lot of context.
I maybe somewhat disagree with that. So counterpoint, I felt our podcast was very useful for season 1.
Yeah.
We caught a lot and we explained a lot that if people didn't have extensive X-Men familiarity or they didn't listen to us, they wouldn't get. But the only service we're providing this season, and I'm happy we covered this season. I like this show. I like talking with you about it. We're going to talk about it anyway. We might as well talk about it in the microphones, right? So, yeah, we should definitely do season 3 if we can do season 3 when it comes out. But I don't think we have as much value add this season. Literally all we're doing is catching, okay, we can list off some of the cameos of students, then we can talk about how we feel about the episode. I don't think there's all that much context we can provide season 2 in hindsight that gives this podcast a lot of oomph or makes it that we were very useful for people looking to engage with season 1. I don't know if we were as useful for season 2. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, Bob. And I also feel the same way about the things I watch on YouTube too. It's more we're just seeing a lot of Easter egg type things, a lot less narrative structure.
We were able to really intelligently talk about like parallels to the Krakoa era and to the Morrison era and the Jason Aaron era with the first season. And we can do that a little with season 2, but not nearly as much.
With this season, though, and just with Apocalypse in general, if you don't have a grasp on what or who Apocalypse is, don't you get very confused when the Celestial shows up? And it's weird. You have no real explanation. Did the Celestials show up in any of the other seasons?
I should make clear to the listeners, I don't understand the Celestials that well. That's not a corner of Marvel I know very well. I can't speak authoritatively on it. That said, to the extent I do have knowledge of the Celestials, for this episode, it was actually a little bit of a distraction to me.
Yeah.
Because in what I've read, the Celestials in Jason Aaron's Avengers and Kieran Gillen's Eternals and Jack Kirby's Eternals, at least as I imagine them, and maybe this is incorrect, listeners, but the Celestials, as I imagine them, don't interact with mortals. They don't interact with humans. They just do their thing and ignore us. And you wouldn't really, and this is jumping way, way ahead, so spoilers for the big finale, listeners. The Celestials, in my understanding, would never cut demon-style deals with individual humans or individual. That's just not something they do. So that doesn't sink my enjoyment of the episode. I think how they do Rogue and Nightcrawler negotiating with the Celestials is interesting enough. And I don't care about the Celestials. I'm not committed to them being comics accurate or anything. But that's not, to my understanding at least, which is maybe wrong, that's not how the Celestials work at all.
It's more of a Mephisto thing, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels.
But getting back to this episode, sorry, the Celestial stuff, yeah, I feel like that was a piece. And then also anything dealing with ship in this episode. If you didn't watch the episode way back
about ship.
Way back in the original run and know Beast's relationship with Ship, and then paid very close attention during the first couple of episodes of this season to get an understanding of what Ship was to Apocalypse.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
And to Ramatut. You have to know, if you don't know those things, you're just like, what? Why is Ship involved here? What is going on?
Now that you say that episode with Ship, they should have had that as episode 0 for this season on Disney Plus.
It's one episode in the original run, and then here you're just Ship's back and it's Ship. Ship survived. It's in the ocean. Okay.
We were talking about narrative echoes of the comics in these series, and one that I thought was interesting was, I don't know if you remember early 90s, but the Bishop Gambit rivalry was a huge thing, right? Bishop thought Gambit was the traitor, and in a certain sense Gambit was the traitor because of his retconned involvement in the massacre. But it's funny to do that basically, but instead of having Bishop happy on the team and it's Cable, but instead of it being, Gambit's a traitor, it's possessed by Apocalypse. Wants to kill Gambit. I just thought it was funny to parallel the Bishop Gambit rivalry from the early 90s.
Switched up a little bit. Cable does get the job done. That's pretty nice.
I like Bishop more than Cable, but if you were a Cable fan and not a Bishop fan, you might say that's the difference between Cable and Bishop. Cable gets his job done. Matt, we've already talked about Rogue cutting the deal with the Celestial, and I was fine with it narratively, but yeah, I was just saying comics-wise, I don't really think that's how the Celestials operate. But we get a kind of new Phoenix Rogue or Star Rogue, I guess I'll call her, design. Did you like the Star Rogue design?
I was all right with it because it's going to fit in well with any lore they decide to push in for Captain Marvel.
I didn't think about that, but that's interesting. Yeah, given how similar it is to Captain Marvel and given, Rogue's intertwined history with Captain Marvel.
Something's going to go down there, and that's probably what they're pushing toward, and they'll have a decent episode in season 3 where we see her return. And also it's a good way to tie in those characters from the MCU because, Bob, big news came out yesterday. May 5th, 2028, we have a new X-Men film that will be dropping, and we do have a roster. It's Jean Grey, Sadie Sink, who I think we figured that out. Cyclops, it's played by a guy named Kit Connor. Professor X, played by Christopher Abbott. Then we've got Emma Frost, Samara Weaving. Rogue, played by Indy Navarrete. Storm, played by Maya Boyd. And then, Bob, you ready for it?
Hit me, Wolverine.
No. Adam Driver is Mr. Sinister.
That's pretty funny, cats.
So that's coming out, May 5th, 2028.
This is going to be a weird sidebar. On the one hand, I like all those characters. Makes sense. On the other hand, I want to preface what I'm saying. I want to be clear. X-Men has always been a team, at least it's always been a team since the 70s, that's been dominated by women. Most of the best X-Men characters are women. I really like the X-Women. The Storm, Rogue, Emma Frost are there. Really like all of them. That said, is that team maybe too many women and not enough men to balance? To put it vulgarly, too much feminine energy, not enough masculine energy. Do you see what I'm saying?
So you're saying the fact that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 females and there are 1, 2, 3 males, that the female energy may decimate the male energy on the team.
And let me put it a different way. They got 4 of the very best female characters.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Has to offer.
The very best.
They have 2 of the worst male characters that the X-Men have to offer.
What, do you want Wolverine? Is that what you want, Bob?
No, I don't want Wolverine. But
you want
Xavier's, in some sense, not even fully a member of the team.
Correct. Yeah.
I like 21st Century Cyclops. I defend 21st Century Cyclops. I cherish 21st Century Cyclops. Judging by how they portrayed Jean Grey in Spider-Man, they're going to 21st Century Cyclops. They're going to do Teenage Cyclops. So Teenage Cyclops is not a great character. I could be wrong. Maybe they have a great writer. Maybe it's all figured out. Not even sure if I'm going to see this movie, but I don't know. It just seems like There's too much power on the feminine side and too little power on the masculine side. Is all I'm saying. I would almost say you should just do that Brian Wood series from the early 2010s that was called X-Men, but was an all-female roster, which
Okay.
I could never figure out if that was like a joke or sexism or a really funny subversion of the trope. An all-female team would be preferable to having Cyclops and Xavier be the only males.
Bob says he wants more men in his X-Men movie. That's what I'm hearing.
I guess if you are challenged in terms of reading and listening comprehension, that is
Yeah,
what you might draw from
sounds good. Bob wants more men in his X-Men movie. More big, beefy men in the X-Men film.
Can I give you a comparison from Star Trek to maybe illustrate why? Again, I'm not saying this is necessarily a problem, but it might be a problem.
Bob's afraid
like-
this X-Men film is going to turn into Charlie's Angels. That's the issue here.
I think it needs to go full Charlie's Angels.
Professor
I
X and a whole team of women.
just no Xavier at all.
It's even worse that his name is Charles. God, that's so awful.
Chuck's
Chuck's Angels.
It's,
That would be a good spinoff.
it's a little bit like you came out and you know what? We're relaunching Star Trek. We've got a great new crew lined up. We've got Captain Kirk. We've got Lieutenant Uhura. We've got Yeoman Rand. We've got Nurse Chapel. And back from the past, we've got 7 of 9. A little bit what this announcement feels like to me.
Sounds like a fantastic movie.
Maybe I'm just being ridiculous. Residually sexy.
Everything aside, Bob, I understand what you're saying. I've just been messing with you.
Or even if you kept the same ratio, but you just had 2 stronger characters.
Two better
Xavier.
male leads. There's only so much you can do with Cyclops. He's very one-dimensional as a teenager.
I don't know if we've ever seen him as a teenager be in a triangle with Jean and Emma. So
That could be interesting.
I would not expect they would do that well, but it's possible they could do that well, and that could be interesting.
What if they just don't include Psych at all? It's just Emma and Jean.
With the way they did Jean in Spider-Man, it would make sense for Jean to lead the team and to combine her traditional role and Cyclops' traditional role.
But I also wonder, too, are they going to try to push for Emma to be some sort of a headmistress or something along with Xavier? Are we going to have her as an older character?
That's a possibility. It depends on the age of the actress. That's a good point. They could do that of Xavier and Emma as dueling headmaster, headmistress. That would be interesting.
Bob, going back to this episode, sorry we got off a tangent there, but we did bring up the MCU. And when we said the MCU, I had to make sure that Bob knew that there was an X-Men film coming out in 2028.
Thanks for educating me, Matt.
You're welcome, Bob. We got the Wolverine game coming out this year on the PlayStation 5, so we're getting a lot of X-Men in my life.
I made the Star Trek comparison already, so I'm going to make the Star Wars comparison right quick and say, man, they make both Val Cooper and Cable look like Emperor Palpatine in this episode as they watch the battle in the sky. X-Men and the Sentinels.
They really do, yeah. Val Cooper, man. This is spoilers, of course. Did you watch the post-credit scene?
I saw. So if I understood that right, this has always been Val Cooper. This is not Mystique, and Mystique only
Correct.
replaces her at the end. That seems weird.
Correct. There are some animations of Val Cooper where her glasses do that glare thing that people associate with Mystique.
Been some teases that she was Mystique, but it seems like the obvious reading though is that okay, Val Cooper in the first 2 seasons, it's Val Cooper, and only she replaced by Mystique, which I don't care that much. That seems not ideal in terms of storytelling to me.
It's not ideal, too, because Graydon Creed is president, so you've got that piece as well. You've got Mystique there taking Valerie Cooper's place, so she's now over X Factor.
Apologies to any Val Cooper fans out there, but I just don't understand why we spent so much time with Val Cooper if she's not Mystique.
I don't know. Somebody likes her. Her outfit was hideous. I don't know if that's what she had in the comics, but ugh, that X Factor look.
I think rarely she dresses like that.
Yeah.
Normally, I think she's just in civilian clothes.
Yeah, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know I have some fashion opinions, but man, Val Cooper's outfit just, ugh, not my style.
Speaking of characters, Matt, was this the first time we'd seen Siren, or did she show up in the original series? I honestly couldn't.
So I think it's the first time we've seen her. Yeah, I was very surprised because I think Banshee's meant to be dead.
Makes sense. Yeah. And then to praise the show, because we've been a little critical, I really did enjoy the Wolverine and Morph versus Psylocke and Archangel fight. I thought that was a well-handled fight, especially the Wolverine moments of it. And also the little cameo of Morph as Doc Ock was fun.
Yeah, the Doc Ock thing was awesome, and I like that Wolverine's brains have already been scrambled so bad that Psylocke can't really do much to him.
Another thing that surprised me this episode, this finale, was I didn't expect Havoc and Jubilee having a rivalry to be one of the defining dynamics of the season. Havoc is Jubilee's great nemesis in this season and potentially in future seasons too.
But then at the same time, Cyclops' brother. They're that tension as well. Jubilee needs a rival with Cyclops, but
Presumably, with Great and Creed as president and Mystique as Val Cooper, X Factor is presumably going to be a huge deal in season 3, or at least a deal in season 3. Whereas, I don't know if we should expect to see as much X Force in season 3.
probably not. Yeah.
That's funny. I did find that Gambit absolutely wrecking Multiple Man and Siren, even though I like Multiple Man and Siren, but Gambit just wrecking both of them was very satisfying.
Gambit charging the multiple man and then throwing him at the other multiple men. That is the X-Men stuff we love to see. That's the creative use of the powers.
Another Morph cameo, at first I thought it was Mr. Fantastic, but I think it's actually Flatman from the Great Lakes Avengers, but that was confusing.
He's starting to run out of people, isn't he?
When you're having to go to the Great Lakes Avengers, that's how you know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. And then I didn't really think they were going to do this episode, Matt. I felt they were probably tired of Apocalypse and they didn't have that much to do with Apocalypse, it turned out. But did you briefly think they were going to let Apocalypse win at the end of the season and then do Age of Apocalypse for season 3?
I wanted to see it because I wouldn't mind seeing the costumes and everything that goes along with that and all the different characterizations that are changed, but I was okay with it. I did get some sense that maybe we would because we don't really see Apocalypse do anything big bad in this finale. There's no real big fight, much anything.
Yeah. And I honestly, at the rate this show moves through comic stories, they would have probably done Age of Apocalypse in a 2-parter, which honestly would probably be about right.
You could cover most of what you would need to in maybe 2 or 3 episodes, yeah.
Yeah. Another question then. So, how did you feel about the Rogue Gambit plot line this episode and last episode? Were you pro? Were you against? Where did you kind of come down on it?
I was fine with it. Honestly, I didn't see an issue because Rogue and Gambit, for one, you knew Gambit was going to come back. You knew that would affect Rogue. You knew Rogue would want to help him. So that all fits. There's nothing unexpected there. The way she does it was cosmic, which was fun. That you can go that way. Gambit, though, getting the beefed up powers of Apocalypse, or Apocalypse invading Gambit and using his body and becoming Gambit. The design was awful. I did not like that design. How did you feel about it?
So I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I wasn't over the moon with Gambit and Apocalypse as a design, but if you're going to do Apocalypse possesses Gambit, yeah, that seems about what you would do. I'm not sure how it could have been that much better. I would say I don't hate this Rogue and Gambit plotline this season. In season 1, I think I picked and this is a little bit getting ahead of ourselves to our overall season view. But in season 1, I think I went with Rogue as my character of the episode 3 times, and I went with Gambit at once, right? Would have gone more if he hadn't died in episode 5 or 6, right? Whereas I don't think I picked either of them a single time this season as my character of the week. And that a little bit shows my lack of enthusiasm for it. I also feel like it felt a little bit too much like they were giving Rogue her own slightly remixed version of the Phoenix Saga, and they were giving Gambit his own slightly remixed version of the Dark Phoenix and the Dark Angel Saga, which I'm not super over the moon about. And also, that's maybe less effective when Jean Grey and Archangel are in the room. I'm glad that the show spotlights Rogue and Gambit. I'm glad Gambit got resurrected. Glad they're back together. All that's nice, but it's not the way I would have preferred to see it.
Yeah, it was so fast paced too. Just there wasn't a lot of time to really establish Gambit's return.
To me, it's not pacing or time though. To me, it's the choices being so similar
To the Phoenix.
There's other things you could loosely adapt from Rogue and Gambit's very complicated and tempestuous relationships in the comics that would have been more effective than just a little bit copying Dark Phoenix and Dark Angel.
Rogue has never had this type of power. Whatever happens to her from the Celestial, where she sacrifices herself, that's never happened in the comics, where she's had that level of power that you're aware of.
Not to my knowledge. Make something obvious.
Right.
I also tend to skip X-Men multiverse stories. I've read Age of Apocalypse, but when they do other Age of Apocalypse inspired stories with different realities, I tend to not read those. So maybe there's something in Age of X or in one of the others that's a little bit more like this. But no, nothing comes to mind.
Bob, when we get to the very end of this episode,
How'd you feel about the loss of your boy, Nightcrawler, Matt?
it was very sad, but it was very in character. I liked
Yeah,
it.
I did like the irony. I've been criticizing the way they've done Rogue and Gambit a lot, and I do feel critical, but I like that Nightcrawler sacrifices himself for his sister. That's nice. And I do think it's funny that Nightcrawler is the big Christian character, the big Catholic character, but he basically makes a deal with the devil to save his sister. There's a nice irony there.
Now, the question is, where does this go from here? Because we've had stories where Nightcrawler is in the afterlife and he meets his dad, as Azazel, as on Hell's a
I
Pirate.
hate to be the one to break this to you, but I think your boy Nightcrawler's gone.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. Nightcrawler's not dead.
I love Nightcrawler. I'm not trying to diss on Nightcrawler. If anything, I downplay my love of Nightcrawler because you like him so much. But Nightcrawler is not on the main cast of X-Men 92. Gambit is. It's coming back. We've already said that this cast is way overstuffed at 16 people. Now it's down to 15. They'll probably rotate out a couple other people. They also want to bring in a couple more people. They really have done a good job this season of big upping Polaris. They're going to keep that going next year. They're going to probably bring in a couple of new people. Sorry, man. I love Nightcrawler. I'd love to see him back. Especially him sacrificing himself completes his character's arc in a way that Gambit sacrificing himself doesn't complete Gambit's arc.
So, Bob, I'm going to table this conversation and we will talk about it in our full season coverage.
Sounds good. I guess we can go ahead and then sign off here because Nightcrawler is your character of the week, right?
Correct, Bob. Nightcrawler is definitely the character of the week here.
Matt, can you guess who my character of the week is?
I don't have to guess because I can see it on our notes, Bob, but I am curious as to why you chose this character.
I really like Strong Guy. I think Strong Guy's a fun X Factor character. I like how they showed his powers operating in the fights in this episode. The cannonball of him crashing into the wall was very good. The match of Strong Guy and Bishop, where both absorb energies, that was a good match. I enjoyed that fight. Then also you can a little bit see that as my dissatisfaction with the Rogue Gambit story. I didn't want to go with either Rogue or Gambit. And also you could a little bit see, I guess we should bring this up before we sign off, Matt. And I've seen some I've seen some Christian racists really go wild on Facebook with this. It's unfortunate. But we have the weird scene at the end where it's Gambit and Rogue have clearly just dry humped, right? And they're sitting there looking at Nightcrawler's Bible.
Huh.
And man, the Christian racists on Facebook love that image. They love two white people having just dry humped because they can't consummate fully. And then looking at the Bible, they love that. That's a weird image. I kind of wish the show had not ended Nightcrawler's sacrifice on that note. As much as I like Nightcrawler, as much as I like Gambit and Rogue, I can't go with any of them, Matt. So I had to go with Strong Guy.
Good choice, Bob. And I do like the idea, though, that Strong Guy and Bishop pretty much just cancel each other out. Their power sets. Yeah. It's always cool to have characters that do that to each other.
And it's also just nice because even though X Factor in some sense have been the big villains this season, before this episode, we didn't really get to see the cool members of X Factor. And I don't consider Havoc a cool member, and Polaris defects to the X-Men, so she doesn't count. But we haven't really gotten to see the cool members of X Factor really cook. And with Multiple Man and Siren and Strong Guy, we really get to see them cook this episode. I appreciate that. We still didn't really get anything out of Wolfsbane, but I like Wolfsbane, but whatever. Maybe her time will come next season.
We didn't even get much out of her in Cold Comfort either. Wow. Poor Wolfsbane, just underrepresented.
I feel bad because Wolfsbane is better when she's with the New Mutants than when she's with X Factor. It's a little bit of a shame to have her stuck with X Factor instead of mutants.
All right, Bob, we are going to do a recap of season 2.
All right, listeners, so join us, for immediately after this for our recap of X-Men 97 Season 2. I'm Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.